The great academy was alive with noise. Footsteps echoed across shining halls, voices rose in every language of the stars, and bright lights flickered from alien displays on the walls. Yet in the middle of all this life, one figure moved like a shadow. The alien girl, small and quiet, walked with her head down, clutching a thin book to her chest. No one stopped her. No one spoke her name. She was always there, yet always unseen. Students glanced at her, whispered to each other, and laughed when she passed. Some imitated the way she avoided eye contact. Others mocked her silence with cruel smiles. But she never answered. Her lips stayed shut, her steps quick, and her eyes fixed on the floor. No one knew her past except rumors. They called her the orphan, saying her world had burned in a war she never spoke about. They said she was the last of her kind. Whether it was true or not, nobody asked her. Nobody cared enough. To most, she was just the strange, silent girl who carried sadness. Like a cloak at lunch, the great dining hall roared with laughter, plates clattering, alien voices mixing like thunder. But she sat alone at the far corner, a bowl untouched before her. She stared at the food as if it was only another burden. Around her, groups formed tentacled beings, swapping stories, tall reptilian youths arguing about duels, humans joking loudly about Earth's sports, all alive, all connected. And she was the only one apart. Still, inside her chest, her heart ached. She wanted to join them. She wanted to say something, anything. But the words never came. Each time she thought of speaking, she remembered the eyes, the laughter, the way silence felt safer than rejection. So she stayed still, feeding on her loneliness instead of food. At night, in her small dorm room, she curled on her bed, holding the thin blanket tight. The academy outside still buzzed, faint sounds carrying through the walls. She closed her eyes, but dreams gave no peace. She dreamed of faces she had lost, voices she could no longer remember clearly. When she woke, her throat felt locked, as if her silence had grown roots inside her. The teachers knew about her, of course. They marked her presence, but not her soul. She's quiet, they said, moving on to other students who raised hands, who shouted answers, who shined bright. No one had patience for the girl who trembled even when asked her name. One day, during a lesson in the grand hall, the teacher called on her. Hundreds of eyes turned, waiting. The question was simple. She knew the answer. Her hands shook. Her lips opened slightly, but no sound came. Laughter burst from the crowd. The teacher sighed and turned away. That moment carved itself deep inside her chest. Another stone added to the heavy wall she carried. But not everyone looked at her with cruelty. Hidden among the sea of faces, one human boy watched differently. He did not laugh, did not look away. His eyes followed the alien girl as she lowered her head, cheeks burning with shame. He saw the pain she carried, the silence that crushed her. And something stirred inside him, pity. Yes, but more than that, to pull. A sense that she did not deserve this loneliness. The alien girl, of course, did not notice. She left the hall quickly, escaping into the cold corridors, her thin frame almost lost against the high walls. Her steps echoed softly, a rhythm of running. Away, she did not know that someone had begun to watch her. She did not know that her silence had touched a human heart. Later, when the day ended, the academy filled with evening light. Long shadows stretched across the courtyard as alien students laughed and hurried toward their dorms. She sat under a tree at the edge, knees pulled to her chest, her eyes fixed on the stars above. They comforted her, those distant fires. They were far unreachable, but steady. Unlike people, unlike voices, the wind rustled the leaves, carrying faint laughter from afar. She closed her eyes and wished, though she never dared speak it, wished for one moment where she would not feel broken. Wished for someone who might see her not as the orphan, but simply as her. The academy was vast, cruel in its indifference, and she was only one lost soul inside it. Yet fate had begun to turn. Somewhere in those halls, a human boy was already thinking of a way to reach her. Something small, something simple, but powerful enough to break through walls of silence. But she did not know that yet. For now, she sat alone, heart wrapped in shadows, unaware that her world was about to change because of a gift no one could have predicted. A gift that would carry warmth, loyalty, and a spark of life back into her empty heart. And in the silence of that night, with stars burning cold above, the orphaned alien girl whispered to herself, though no one heard, "I just want it's not to be alone." The academy gates opened with a deep mechanical hum, and a fresh wave of students stepped through. But this time, the crowd was different. Among the tall reptilian forms and shining insectoid shapes, there were figures with familiar human frames, shorter, softer, carrying an energy that did not match the cold halls of the academy. Humans had come as part of the exchange program, and their arrival stirred the entire place. Whispers spread quickly. Aliens craned their heads, curious about the new species. Some muttered about human weakness, others mocked their strange bodies. A few even wondered aloud if the humans would survive the harsh training that the academy demanded. The noise mattered to the girl who sat alone near the back of the hall. The orphaned alien girl kept her eyes low, as she always did. She heard the whispers, but did not join them. She saw the group of humans, but did not lift her head. To her, they were just more strangers who would laugh if she tried to speak. But fate was already shifting. One boy in the group of humans was different from the rest. His hair was short, brown like autumn leaves, and his eyes held a restless light. While his friends laughed loudly, pushing each other in playful banter, his gaze wandered across the hall. He was searching for something without knowing what it was. Then his eyes stopped. He saw her. The alien girl sat by herself. Thin arms wrapped around a book, her shoulders curved as if the weight of the galaxy pressed on her. Around her, an empty circle stretched, because no one wanted to sit near her. It looked like silence itself, living among noise. The boy's chest tightened. He didn't know her name, didn't know her story. But he felt something pull him toward her. During the orientation, the humans were introduced. The hall erupted with questions from every corner about Earth, about technology, about wars, about food. Teachers smiled proudly as the humans explained their ways. The alien girl remained silent, head still bowed, but every now and then she felt at the boy's eyes watching her. At first, she thought it was mockery. She prepared herself for laughter, for whispers, but none came. Each time she glanced up, he was only looking, not cruelly, not like the others. His eyes carried curiosity, maybe even kindness, and that frightened her more than the laughter. When the session ended, students spilled into the wide courtyard. The humans laughed and joked, already surrounded by curious aliens. The orphaned girl walked quickly toward the shadows, hoping no one would notice her. But someone did. The boy broke away from his group. He slipped through the crowd and walked in her direction. His footsteps grew louder behind her, echoing against the stone. She froze, heart hammering. She wanted to run, but her legs betrayed her. Slowly, she turned. The human stood a few steps away, smiling in a gentle, awkward way. His hands were empty, his posture relaxed. He did not tower over her or glare. He simply said one word. "Hi." Her breath caught. The word was simple, harmless. But it cut through the silence she had lived inside for years. She opened her mouth, but no sound came. Panic rose inside her chest. She turned and walked away, almost running. The boy didn't chase her. He only stood there, watching her vanish into the hall. Something in her eyes had told him she was afraid not of him, but of the world itself. And instead of giving up, he felt more determined. That night, the alien girl lay awake in her dorm. The words still echoing in her ears. Hi. Why had he said it to her? Why not to the others? She pressed her face into her pillow, confused and restless. A strange warmth lingered inside her, and for once it wasn't just loneliness. Meanwhile, the boy sat in his room, surrounded by his human friends, who laughed about the new academy rules and strange alien food. But his mind wasn't with them. He thought about the girl, the way her eyes had carried entire galaxies of sadness, the way her silence had spoken louder than words. He didn't know her name, but he knew this. He would not leave her alone. The next day, the academy buzzed with lessons and activities. The girl tried to keep to her quiet corners as always, but she felt it again, the weight of his eyes. At the library, in the dining hall, even in the training yard, he noticed her, not staring, not mocking, just noticing. And each time her chest tightened with both fear and a secret, fragile hope. The academy had never been kind to her, but now something new had entered its halls. A human who looked past the walls she had built, a human who might dare to break the silence she had lived in for so long. She didn't know it yet. But his next step would change everything, not with words, not with lectures, but with a gift, something small, alive, and full of warmth, something that would make her speak. The human boy had spent days thinking. Every time he saw the alien girl walking alone through the academy, clutching her book like a shield, something inside him refused to rest. He wanted to reach her, but he understood now words alone would not be enough. She was too afraid of voices, too used to silence. If he wanted to break her walls, he needed something different. That night, while his friends joked in the dormitory, he slipped away. His footsteps echoed down the metallic corridors as he headed toward the docking bay. He had heard rumors that traders from Earth had arrived with supplies, food, tools, and sometimes living cargo. His heart raced as he searched among the stalls, ignoring the curious stares of alien merchants. Then he heard it, a small bark. He turned his head, and there it was. A tiny creature with soft golden fur, round eyes full of energy, and a tail that wagged as if it were powered by joy itself. A puppy, just a simple earth dog trembling inside a cage, looking for a friend. The boy knelt, smiling softly, and the puppy licked his fingers through the bars. In that instant he knew. This was the gift. This was the bridge. The next day the academy bustled as usual. The alien girl sat in her corner, shoulders hunched, pretending to read. Students walked past, laughing, living their lives. She didn't notice the human boy until he was right in front of her. For a moment, her chest tightened in fear. Why was he here again? Why was he looking at her? But then she saw movement. Something small wriggled in his arms. Soft fur, bright eyes, a tiny, pink tongue. The puppy barked once, high and playful, and the sound shattered the silence around her. Her eyes widened. She had never seen such a creature before. The boy knelt slowly and set the puppy down at her feet. The little dog stumbled forward, wagging, its tail so hard its whole body wobbled. It sniffed at her shoes, then jumped clumsily into her lap. The girl froze. Her hands trembled. For years no one had touched her. No one had come close without cruelty. But this creature pressed against her chest, warm and alive. Licking her hands as if it had known her forever, her throat tightened. A sound escaped. Her lips, not words, not yet, but a tiny laugh. It was soft, uncertain, but it was real. The boy's eyes lit up. He had never heard her voice before, not even a whisper. But now, because of the puppy, she had broken her silence. She looked up at him, eyes shining with tears she could not hide. She wanted to speak, but fear tangled her tongue. Still her lips moved. W-Y. The word was barely a whisper, but it was enough. The boy smiled gently, because, he said, his voice steady and kind, everyone deserves a friend. Her chest ached. For so long she had believed she didn't deserve anything, no kindness, no friendship, no love. Yet here was this boy, handing her a piece of earth, a piece of warmth, without asking for anything in return. The puppy yawned, curling into her arms, as if it had always belonged there. She stroked its soft fur, hesitant at first, then more firmly. Each touch loosened something inside her. Each wag of its tail pushed the shadows back. Other students noticed. They stopped, surprised, whispering to each other. The silent orphan was smiling, was holding a creature from another world, and for the first time her face carried light instead of sorrow. But not all whispers were kind. Some eyes narrowed. Some students muttered about humans in their strange ways, about weakness, about favoritism. A group of alien youths exchanged looks of irritation, their jealousy growing. The girl didn't notice. For the first time in years, she felt safe. She pressed her cheek against the puppy's fur, letting its heartbeat steady hers. She still could not speak freely, but something inside her had shifted. The walls she had built were cracking. The human boy didn't push her. He didn't ask for more words. He only sat nearby, smiling softly as if he understood that this moment belonged to her. He had given her the key, and now it was her choice to use it. That night, in her dorm, the alien girl did not curl into bed alone. The puppy lay against, her tiny body rising and falling with each breath. She whispered to it, words too quiet for anyone else to hear. Broken sentences, soft and clumsy, but words all the same. You, with me. The puppy's tail thumped in reply, and for the first time, she fell asleep with a smile. But outside her small room, shadows were already moving. The jealous students who had watched her laugh for the first time whispered plans of their own. They did not like what the human had done. They did not like seeing her change. They would not allow it to last. The girl didn't know it yet. She didn't know that joy always brings danger. But she had taken the first step out of silence, and there was no turning back. Morning light spilled through the tall academy windows. The orphaned alien girl walked slowly into the dining hall, clutching something close to her chest. Students turned to look, expecting the usual silence, the usual lowered eyes. But today was not usual. The puppy peeked out from her arms, ears twitching, nose sniffing the air. Its small bark rang across the hall, cutting through the noise of clattering trays and alien voices. Heads swiveled. Whispers rose. For the first time, all eyes were not on her silence, but on the strange earth creature nestled against her. She sat at her corner table, as always, but something had changed. Instead of staring at her food, untouched, she placed a tiny piece on the floor. The puppy wagged its tail, happily chewing, and she laughed softly. It was a sound so fragile that it seemed the whole hall leaned in to hear it. The laughter spread quickly, some surprised, some mocking, but others curious. Students who had ignored her now whispered questions. "Did you hear?" She laughed. "At what? At the human's pet?" Their words stung, but she barely heard them. Her eyes were fixed on the puppy, and her hands trembled as she stroked its fur. The human boy entered late, carrying his tray. He saw her immediately, the corner of his lips lifting. She didn't notice him at first, but when their eyes met, she didn't run this time. Instead, she gave a small nod, not a smile yet, but not fear either. Progress the day continued with lessons, and the girl felt something strange. Each time she whispered to the puppy small words, broken phrases, her chest felt lighter. In the library, she read aloud softly, her voice clumsy but real, while the puppy curled at her feet. In the training yard, she dared to stand a little straighter, because the puppy barked whenever she hid too much. Other students noticed. A reptilian youth raised an eyebrow. She talks to that thing. A group of insectoid students clicked their mandibles, muttering about weakness. But not all were cruel. Some younger students giggled and asked if they could pet the puppy. She shook her head at first, clutching it tightly. But when the human boy gently said, "It's okay," she loosened her grip. The puppy sniffed the children's hands, tail wagging, and for a moment, the girl's lips curved into a small, nervous smile. It was the first time anyone had seen her smile in the academy. Yet with every new spark of light in her, shadows deepened elsewhere. The jealous students who had mocked her silence now grew restless. They had built their pride on her weakness, and now, watching her change, they felt something sharp anger. They whispered in corners, their eyes dark as they watched her stroke the puppy's fur. That evening, as the sun dipped low and long shadows filled the courtyard, the girl sat beneath the same tree as before. But this time, she was not alone. The puppy rolled in the grass, chasing its own tail, while the human boy sat nearby, pretending to read. Every now and then he glanced at her. "You're different," he said quietly. She stiffened, almost hiding. Again, but the puppy barked and pressed against her leg, as if pushing her forward. She opened her mouth. Words struggled, but finally she whispered, "Better." With him? She looked at the puppy when she said it, but the boy understood more. Yeah, he said softly, smiling. He thinks you're better too. The girl blinked, unsure how to answer. Her chest felt warm and heavy at the same time. For so long she had believed herself broken. Now, with one human boy and one small earth creature, she wondered if maybe she was more than her silence. Night came. In her dorm, the puppy curled beside her. She whispered to it again, words flowing more easily now. Stay with me. Don't leave. She stroked its fur, and the puppy wagged its tail, as if promising it never would. But outside her door, footsteps lingered. Shadows shifted. Jealous eyes gleamed in the dim hall. The girl didn't know yet. She didn't know that her first smile, her first laugh, her first whispered words had awakened more than hope. They had awakened envy, and envy always sought to take away what others could not have. The puppy barked once, restless in its sleep, as if it sensed the storm coming. The academy halls were quieter than usual that night. Moonlight spilled through the long glass panels, painting silver lines across the floors. Most students slept in their dorms, their dreams filled with battles, victories, and futures waiting beyond the academy walls. But not everyone slept. In one shadowed corner, a group of students whispered. Their voices were sharp, poisoned with jealousy. She was nothing before, one hissed, his reptilian eyes glowing faintly. Now she smiles. Now she laughs, because of that animal. Another student, tall and insectoid, clicked her mandibles at his weakness. That creature is not part of this academy. It is not part of her. Take it away, and she will return to silence. Their plan was simple. While the girl slept, they would steal the strange earth creature. She would break again, and the balance of the academy would return. The orphaned alien girl, unaware of the danger, lay curled on her bed, the puppy tucked against her chest. Its warm breath soothed her, its tiny body reminding her she was not alone. She whispered soft words into the dark. Safe. Here. Always safe. Her voice was still broken, but it was more than silence, and in her heart. She believed it, but in the middle of the night, the door creaked open. The puppy stirred, ears twitching. A shadow moved across the floor, tall and heavy. Before the girl could wake, strong hands snatched the small dog away. The puppy yelped, a sharp cry that pierced her sleep. Her eyes flew open. No. Her voice, louder than ever before, shook the air. She leaped from the bed, reaching for the small bundle of fur, but the thieves pulled it back. The puppy barked desperately, paws stretching toward her as the shadows slipped into the hall. Her chest burned with panic. For years she had stayed, silent, frozen under fear, but not this time. Something inside her cracked wide open. She ran barefoot through the cold hall, shouting words she had never dared to say. Stop. Give him back. Her cries echoed through the academy, waking students. In their dorms, doors opened, sleepy eyes stared in shock. The silent orphan, the girl who never spoke, was now screaming with everything she had. The thieves ran faster, their footsteps pounding on the floor. The puppy yelped again, its cries tearing at her heart. She pushed herself harder, her thin legs carrying her farther than ever before. The commotion reached another hall, where the human boy was awake, reading by dim light. He froze at the sound of her voice, disbelief washing over him. She was shouting. She was alive in her voice. She was in danger. He threw his book aside and ran toward the noise. The chase twisted through the academy corridors, a storm of footsteps and desperate cries. Students gathered, whispers spreading like fire. She's shouting, what happened? They took something from her. The girl's lungs burned, but she didn't stop. Every time the puppy barked, she felt fire in her chest. For once, fear did not control her. She wanted only one thing, to save the only creature that had ever made her feel whole. At last, in the outer courtyard, the thieves slowed. They turned, their faces hard. The reptilian youth hissed, holding the puppy high. This does not belong here, he spat. Neither do you. Her heart pounded, but she stepped forward, fists clenched. For the first time in her life, she didn't lower her eyes. Her voice trembled, but it carried through the night. "He is mine. Give him back." The puppy barked, wriggling wildly, tail thrashing as if cheering for her. Behind her, the human boy arrived, breathless but steady. He placed himself at her side without hesitation. "You don't have to do this alone," he said. The girl blinked at him, tears burning her eyes. For so long she had been alone. Now for the first time, someone stood with her. Someone believed in her voice. The courtyard filled with more students, drawn by the shouting. The thieves looked uneasy now, but pride held them in place. The reptilian youth sneered, tightening his grip on the puppy, and then, with a strength she never thought she had, the girl stepped forward again. Her voice, raw but powerful, broke through the night. "Give him back her. You will regret it." The crowd fell silent. The thieves hesitated, stunned by her courage. The human boy's fists clenched, ready to fight if needed. The puppy barked, again loud and fierce as if echoing her threat. The moment hung in the air, heavy with tension. Everyone knew something had changed forever. The girl was no longer silent. She was no longer invisible. She would not stop until she got her friend back. The courtyard was frozen in silence. Dozens of students stood in a wide circle, their eyes locked on the orphaned alien girl who had just shouted with a voice no one believed she had. The reptilian youth sneered, his claws digging into the small puppy that wriggled in his grasp. "You?" he hissed. "You dare threaten me?" His words dripped with disbelief. "You are nothing but a shadow. You don't belong here. This creature makes you weak." The girl's chest heaved, her heart pounding, but she didn't look away. For the first time in her life, she didn't bow her head. Her voice trembled, but it rose again, louder, stronger. "He is my friend. Take him, and you take me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers followed, stunned and uncertain. This was not the silent orphan they knew. This was someone different. Someone who stood tall, her eyes blazing with a fire. They had never seen the human boy step closer to her side. His fists clenched, but his voice stayed calm. "You heard her," he said. "Let the puppy go." The reptilian youth snarled, glancing at the crowd. His pride battled against the pressure of so many eyes. He had wanted to humiliate her, but now the spotlight burned back at him. He held the puppy higher as if to prove control. The girl stepped forward, her body shaking, but her voice ringing clear. "Give him back." The puppy barked, desperate, its little body writhing. In that moment, something inside her snapped free. Years of silence, years of fear, years of loneliness, all of it burst out in a single scream that shook the courtyard. "He is mine." The power in her cry startled even herself. The reptilian student flinched, his grip faltering. The puppy slipped from his claws, landing safely in the grass. It scrambled immediately toward the girl, tail wagging wildly, and leaped into her arms. She caught it, holding it tight against her chest, tears streaming down her face. Relief crashed over her like a storm. She whispered into the puppy's fur, words tumbling broken but fierce. "Safe. With me. Always safe." The crowd erupted, some cheering, some whispering, some stunned into silence. For the first time, the alien girl's voice had been heard by all. Not as a weak whisper, but as a cry of courage. The reptilian youth growled, humiliated. But before he could strike back, teachers arrived. Their eyes scanned the scene, the frightened puppy, the trembling girl, the angry students, and their faces hardened. The thieves were pulled aside, their protests silenced. But the girl did not care about them. All she cared about was the warm heartbeat against her chest. The puppy licked her tears, and she laughed through her sobs. The human boy knelt beside her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "You did it," he said softly. "You spoke, you fought, saved him." Her lips quivered. She turned her face toward him, her voice shaky but real. "I was afraid." "You still are," he replied, smiling. "But you were brave anyway. That's what matters." His words sank into her heart, and for the first time she believed them. She was not weak. She was not broken. She was not only the orphan, not only the silent shadow, she was something more. The courtyard quieted again as she stood slowly, puppy. In her arms, facing the crowd, her knees trembled, but her voice carried with surprising strength. I am not invisible. I am not nothing. I am here. The words cracked, but they rang through every ear. The students stared, no one daring to laugh this time. Her courage had burned through their cruelty, but as her voice faded into the night, something else stirred inside her, a memory, long buried, now rising because of the fire in her chest. A voice from the past, faint but clear, whispered in her mind, "You are not weak. You are not alone." Her parents, the memory of their final words locked deep in silence, now returned. And with it, the truth she had hidden even from herself. She had always been able to speak. She had only been too afraid. The realization made her tremble harder, but not from fear. From freedom. She had broken her chains. The puppy barked happily, sensing her release. The human boy smiled wider, his eyes bright with pride. Around them, the students began to see her differently, not as the broken orphan, but as someone who had found her courage. But courage always draws eyes, both kind and cruel. Somewhere in the crowd, another figure watched, silent and calculating. Not a jealous student this time, but someone older. Someone whose interest in her voice ran deeper than simple envy. The girl did not notice yet, only held her puppy close, whispering again and again, "Safe. With me. Always safe." And for the first time, she believed it. The academy was different the next morning. Filled every hallway, every classroom, every corner where students gathered. She shouted, she fought back, she spoke. The orphaned alien girl, once invisible, was now the center of every conversation. Some students looked at her with awe, others with curiosity, and a few with anger that hadn't yet burned out. But no one ignored her anymore. She walked through the hall with the puppy at her side, its tail wagging proudly as if it knew it had changed the galaxy for her. She still kept her eyes low sometimes, but her steps were steadier now. When voices whispered, she did not run. She kept walking, because now she carried something greater than fear. She carried courage in the dining hall, where she had always sat alone. She placed her tray on the same corner table. But this time, the human boy sat beside her without hesitation. And then, slowly, other students, young ones, the ones who had once feared mocking her, came closer. "Can we pet him?" one asked nervously, pointing at the puppy. The girl froze, clutching her friend tightly. She had never shared him with anyone before. But the puppy barked happily, wagging its tail as if encouraging her. Her lips trembled. Then softly, she said yes. The children knelt, stroking the small earth creature with wonder in their eyes. The girl watched, her chest tight with both fear and pride. For the first time, she was not just watching life happen around her, she was part of it. The human boy leaned closer, speaking quietly so only she could hear. "See, they don't laugh now. They listen." Her throat tightened. She looked at him, then at the puppy, then at the children. Slowly, words slipped past her lips, clumsy but clear. "I never thought anyone would listen. They will now," he said firmly, "because you found your voice." The days that followed were strange and new. In class, she whispered answers not always loud, not always perfect, but enough for the teachers to pause, surprised. In the courtyard, she laughed when the puppy chased after falling leaves. Students who once ignored her now nodded when she ignored past. Some still whispered cruel things, but their voices felt smaller now, weaker. Unable to reach her heart the way they once did, the human boy stayed close, never forcing, never pushing. He simply stood by her, steady as the ground beneath her feet. Sometimes he would read to her, and sometimes she would whisper a few words back, learning slowly how to let her voice flow. At night, in her dorm, she held the puppy close and whispered longer sentences, practicing with only him as her listener. "You are my light," she said softly. "You gave me a reason." The puppy licked her cheek in reply, as if agreeing with every word. But change always brought challenge. Not everyone was pleased with her transformation. The students who had stolen the puppy returned from punishment with bitterness carved into their faces. They avoided her for now, but their eyes promised that they had not forgotten. Even so, the girl did not shrink. She had faced them once and found her strength. She knew she could do it again. One evening, as the sun bled red across the academy walls, the human boy and the girl sat beneath the old tree in the courtyard. "Adacta." The puppy rolled in the grass between them, chasing shadows. The girl looked at the stars above, her eyes soft, but alive in a way they had never been before. "I used to think I was broken," she whispered. "You're not broken," the boy said simply. "You were only waiting for the right reason to speak." She was quiet for a long time. Then she turned to him, her eyes shining. "You gave me that reason?" The boy smiled, shaking his head. "No, he did," he said, nodding at the puppy. The girl laughed softly, a sound that carried through the evening air like music. "Both of you," she corrected, hugging the little dog to her chest. For a moment, the world felt safe. The courtyard was calm, the stars steady above, and the warmth. A friendship wrapped around her like a blanket. She had been an orphan, a shadow, a silent ghost. Now, she was something new, someone with a voice, with hope, with a future. But far across the academy, in a high tower, a figure watched her through a glass panel. A teacher, older than the rest, whose eyes burned with something more than curiosity. He had seen her break her silence. He had seen her courage. And he was thinking of what it could mean not just for her, but for the academy, for the galaxy, for powers greater than anyone knew. The girl, still laughing softly with her puppy, did not see those eyes. She did not feel the weight of their gaze. For now, she believed the storm had passed. For now, she believed her life had finally found peace. But storms never end so easily.